Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about psychological astrology. And psychological astrology, it incorporates or amalgamates psychology and astrology, and it gained more credibility in the latter part of the 20th century. And specifically, it combines humanistic psychology, transpersonal psychology, and death psychology. And the thing is, humanistic psychology is about is connected with being cognizant of your abilities and creative prowess. Now, transpersonal psychology, that's more associated with the spiritual element of psychology. And the death psychology is associated more with the unconscious. Therapies, for example, therapy connected with this, such as dreams analysis. Now, this is a branch of astrology which was inspired and developed strongly from renowned psychiatrist, psychotherapist Carl Jung. And in 1936, he wrote a book called The Astrology of Personality, and I think this helped propel and jumpstart this subject and concept and this belief. And it's interesting now they even have they have a website which talks about the psychological profiles of all 12 zodiac signs. It's on astrologyonline.eu. And the thing about this has gained more credibility as the years have progressed. And the thing is, what this does is this talks about so much more than just, you can say, the superficial part of astrology. I mean, prior to psychological astrology, I mean, astrology was more based on the basic attributes and characteristics of the 12 zodiac signs, and it was a lot more superficial, as opposed in contrast to what it is now. Astrology, I think, strongly because of the psychological element connected with it, or aspect connected with it, has really evolved over the years and really is a lot more intricate and complex, and makes the subject therefore that much more intriguing and fascinating and interesting. Astrology has so many proponents and nuances to it. I mean, you can really, and I think psychological astrology is very strongly associated with this. Now, when you look at the things with astrology, for example, psychological astrology, you look at like the rising sign, for example, and that's often associated with one's defense mechanisms. And say for someone with Taurus rising, for example, like me, and it could show what a rising sign could be about, what one does when it is in a situation where he or she is just not quite sure and maybe a little bit apprehensive, and something just seems obscure or unclear, so they may put on a more of like an obstinate or stubborn front, for example. And also, like, another example could be where the moon sign, have someone with a Gemini moon like me. Okay, the emotional needs are connected with the moon sign. It's not just about having Gemini traits, as maybe is how it was seen in the past. And the moon, in the moon sign being, having those emotional needs, it could indicate that me having, for example, needs a lot of variety in showing versatility in order to have my emotional needs met, and very strongly connected with my emotional well-being. And emotional well-being is connected, I believe, with the psychology and astrology. And another example is the sun sign, and many of you may know I have the sun in Cancer, and the sun sign is associated with our basic wants, and it's not just about having a sun in Cancer or having a Cancer characteristics. It's about what it actually means a little bit on a deeper level. And Sun in Cancer basic wants can be connected with the home and the family and things that are associated with one's emotional security. So the thing is, this is really goes into it in psychology, in astrology. The fact that psychology has been incorporated into astrology has made the subject a lot more deeper, and as I stated before, a lot more interesting. And there's been credence stronger credence has been given to this, especially in the latter part of the 20th century. And what happened was Liz Green and Howard Sasportas had founded the Center for Psychological Astrology in 1983, and I think this certainly gave this a lot more credibility than it had previously. So those are some things some thoughts I'm sharing on psychological astrology. And the thing about this is that having psychological astrology, it gives a really an added element to astrology than it lacked before, and it lets us know that we're not just that what these things actually, the deep meanings of a lot of these things, such as our planets and our house cusp, including the ascendant, and what they actually really mean. And it's not just about basic characteristics anymore. And I'm so glad to people like Carl Jung, or I don't know if I'm saying it right, John. I don't know, but anyway, whatever. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but anyway, he really helped, I think, catapult this idea. And it's kind of it's interesting because from what my readings on this is that Sigmund Freud had actually tried to discourage Carl Jung or John from incorporating astrology into the studies of psychiatry or psychoanalysis or what have you. And he was really pessimistic about this and trying to dissuade him from really looking at this having astrology incorporated into this. And I thought that was very interesting. And it's nothing against Freud, but I'm glad that Carl did go against that, and he went into his own branch, so to speak. And I'm happy for that, because I think because of his writings, this inspired I think that the psychological astrology has certainly escalated over the years because of this, and it has made astrology a lot more fun, a lot more interesting, because of the added nuances and elements to it because of this. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment about psychological astrology. And stay tuned next time, where I will be continuing my compatibility of the zodiac signs series. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.